Most people think that their genetics are holding them back from jumping higher. But what if I told you that your shitty genetics shouldn't be holding you back from jumping high? In reality, you are probably miles away from reaching your genetic ceiling. In this video, I'm going to prove to you that your genetics don't really matter if you want to jump higher, and I'm going to give you the secret sauce to jumping higher. Before you click off this video, my name is Max Sheriff, and I have taken my vertical jump from 22 inches and not even touching the rim to 38 inches and throwing down windmills. I've improved astronomically, and in fact, if you'd have told my friends 2 years ago that I would have been as athletic as I am now, they would have called bullshit. So I'm very credible to talk about this as someone who thought they had bad genetics and thought they wouldn't be able to jump high and be athletic, but actually managed to surpass that and become athletic. By the way, I created a training program to prove to you that you can jump higher in just 12 weeks, even with your shitty genetics. Seriously, I tried this and my vertical jump went up by 6 inches. If you can't dunk a basketball or you just want to jump higher and get more athletic, you've clicked on the right video. First of all, this is Werner Gunthor. You've probably seen this training video. Him in the purple lycra doing these plyometric jumps. In fact, the stair ones are more popular. I don't know how I didn't get a picture of that up. But yeah, he won 3 straight world championships at shot put. And shot put is a sport that's very dependent on power and strength. Why am I bringing this up? Surely you think he's very genetically gifted, he had crazy genetics, he was genetically predisposed to be an Olympic shot putter. But his genetics were trash. He was genetically predisposed to having 60% of his vastus lateralis be type 1 slow twitch muscle fibers. Comparing this to 33% from another world-class shot putter. So basically, his genetics were way worse than another world-class shot putter. So surely you'd think he would never have a chance of going to the Olympics or being a great athlete. He was genetically a slow twitch athlete. However, by training explosively over 15 years, he grew his type 2 muscle fibers so much that they covered nearly 70% of his muscles cross-sectional area. Gunthor's type 2 fibers were almost 3 times larger than his type 1 muscle fibers. So he went from being a slow twitch athlete genetically to actually building his type 2 muscle fibers. By the way, the type 2 muscle fibers are the fast twitch muscle fibers. Type 1 is slow twitch muscle fibers. You'll see a lot of type 1 in like marathon runners, and then you'll see a lot of type 2 in like sprinters. But this guy, he was genetically predisposed to having lots of the slow twitch muscle fibers, but yet he managed to grow these by training explosively and be able to actually become a very explosive athlete and someone who's good at explosive activities. He also showed a greater expression of fast myosin light chain isoforms in all his fibers, including type 1, showing that he also made his slow twitch fibers more explosive. So stop blaming your genetics. Someone like Gunthor was genetically a slow twitch athlete. However, he was able to become a 3 times world champion in an explosive event due to his excellent training and his resiliency. This is further backed up by the fact that 3 years after his shot put career, his fiber types were back to comparable levels of his untrained brother, showing how large of a role his training played in sculpting his muscle morphology to enhance his athletic performance. So, what can you actually do to jump higher if you have these bad genetics? So we've just proved to you that your genetics don't matter, even if you have bad genetics, slow twitch genetics, like I thought I did. You can still overcome that and become a freak athlete. Anyone can become a freak athlete. You just have to train right and know what to do. And that is where I come into the equation, and I'm going to help you to jump higher. By the way, we have programs in the description if you want to get more explosive and jump higher. I'm talking, we have a VIP training program. We have the 12-week vertical jump program that I mentioned earlier. And we even have a speed training program. So check that out if you want. So the first thing that you're going to do if you want to jump higher is jumping and low rimming. This is essential if you want to jump higher. It's all about the law of specificity. If you want to get better at something, you have to do that thing more often. Simple as that. What would a painter do if they wanted to get better at painting? They would spend more time painting. And the beauty of plyometrics like max effort jumps is that they self-intensify, meaning that as you get better and better, the jumps themselves become more and more intense and serve to continue overloading your body and spurring on adaptations. These adaptations make you jump higher. So, it's of the utmost importance if you're a beginner or anyone who wants to jump higher and dunk to be doing max effort jumps. And the important thing is you have to be pushing intent. Intent is just going and jumping as high as you possibly can. If you're not jumping as high as you possibly can, you're going to get better at jumping low, okay? You need to get better at jumping as high as you can. And that is going to enable you to jump higher. The best way to push intent is by doing low rim dunking. So what you're going to do, you're going to get an adjustable hoop if you have this available to you. If you don't, it's fine. But if you do have this available, you're going to get it down to a height that you can only make a dunk 3 times out of 10. And you're going to stick to that and do that multiple times. What this is going to do is it's going to force you to jump as high as you possibly can, and you're going to get better at dunking because you're going to have the perfect dunk technique and the perfect jump to be able to actually dunk it. So there you go. Low rimming is so important, and it's one of the things that helped me to get my first dunk. I also spent 3 months jumping every single day. Yes, 3 months. Every single day. Do you want to guess what happened? Yes, my vertical jump skyrocketed. My vert went up by 7 or 8 inches just by doing that alone. So, it's really, really powerful. If you want to jump higher, I would suggest that you jump very frequently. You need to be jumping at least 1 to 2 times per week, jump for 1 to 2 hours, get into 20 to 50 reps in every single week. If you do that, you will jump higher. I can guarantee that. Next, strength is non-negotiable if you want to jump higher and stay healthy. You need to increase the amount of force your body can produce into the ground. The more force you can produce into the ground, the higher you're going to jump. Okay? Jumping is physics. If you want to get more impulse is going to help you jump higher, by the way. You need to get more force because once you've mastered your technique, you cannot increase time. So, how do we increase this force? We need to get stronger, obviously. And we want to get stronger at compound lifts. Compound lifts are king if you want to jump higher. Your squat needs to increase. Your split squat needs to increase. Your deadlift needs to increase. Your calf raises need to increase. All these compound lifts, you need to get better at them. Elite jumpers don't care about arbitrary strength standards. However, if you can aim to get to a 1.5 times bodyweight split squat and 2 times bodyweight back squat one day, you will be most of the way there. And there's no limit to how strong you can get. So just go out and get really, really strong. If you can do that, you're going to jump high. Simple as that. Okay? If you can do that, you're going to jump high. Calf training is also really important. It's often neglected. But the gastric and soleus, they're the muscles in your calf that are attached to the Achilles tendon. And the Achilles tendon is the ever important spring in your leg that helps you to jump high and sprint fast. By training, calf raises and seated calf raises, you're going to increase the cross-sectional area of your Achilles tendon, making it stiffer and more useful. So from it, you're going to be able to jump higher. So calves are really, really important. So do your calf training. Next, rate of force development. You need to increase your body's ability to produce lots of force very quickly. Jumping is all about rate of force development, okay? As we said earlier, force is really important, but more importantly is how quickly you can apply lots of force. This is why power lifters, people like Eddie Hall, can't jump ridiculously high. Even though he's ridiculously strong with a 500 kilo deadlift, he can't produce that force insanely quickly. The best way to increase your rate of force development is power cleans. All the best athletes, think about people like Noah Lyles, they do Olympic lifts. Why? Because it works. I have seen a direct correlation between how high my power clean is and how high I'm jumping. At the moment, my power clean is as high as it's ever been, and I'm also jumping as high as I've ever jumped. To learn the power clean, it's pretty simple. You just need to rep out an empty barbell, find some videos on YouTube, and just groove the technique. It's really not that difficult. If you get in like 100 reps on an empty barbell every single day, I promise you'll be mostly there and you'll get the technique down. And then from it, you'll be able to start loading and jump higher from it. You can also do squat jumps for rear force development. They work pretty well. Next, sprinting. There's no single better movement pattern for increasing general athletic capabilities than sprinting. For example, there was a study that found that by doing a sprint training program, I think it was baseball pitchers pitched it faster. There's also been studies that there was a study that showed that it was better for increasing power, strength, and agility than traditional plyometric training. It's the best plyometric that you could possibly do in terms of becoming more athletic, because it's the fastest activity you can do. It's got insanely high ground reaction forces in a short ground contact time. The ground reaction forces are both horizontal when you're accelerating and vertical when you're in top end speed. It also develops those fast twitch muscle fibers, which are so essential for jumping higher, because it's an explosive activity. And sprinting is probably one of the things that Werner Gunford did to become more explosive. And basically the way you get better, develop your fast twitch muscle fibers is doing anything really explosive under about 5 seconds. So that would be like a 40-yard dash, some hurdle jumps, some max effort jumps, all this kind of thing. Just being really explosive and not doing too much slow twitch stuff is how you become a freak athlete. It also develops your tendon stiffness, so you'll be able to pop off the ground really quickly. That's obviously very conducive to jumping higher. You want to be sprinting 1 to 3 times per week minimum. 1 to 3 times per week. Yeah, that's the guideline. If you're a 2-foot jumper, more acceleration work because it's more specific, deeper range of motion. If you're a 1-foot jumper, more top end speed work, so sort of like 60-meter sprints, and then for 2-foot you'd be doing like 20-meter sprints. That would get the most transfer, but obviously you need to surf the curve and get the best of everything. The way I like to think about sprinting is performance. You need to be fresh when you're doing it, you need to warm up well, and you need to rest in between sets, 1 minute per 10 meters sprinted. Yeah, basically you need to be able to have the best performance possible when it comes to sprinting, because if you're not sprinting above 95% of your max speed, you're not actually challenging the CNS and you're not stimulating it so that it adapts. So what does this mean? This means, obviously, as we said, warm up well and rest in between sets, but you also need to be adequately fueled. You need to have drunk your water. You need to potentially caffeinate so that you're feeling energized. You need to have had your carbohydrates before. You need to just be feeling really energized so you can push with all your might and truly push the adaptations and get faster. Now, if you specifically want to get faster, or haven't done any sprint training, we've got a peak pace speed training program in the description. That's literally only $10 and it's got so much value, so check that out if you want. It's going to be the best $10 you would have spent. Next, consistency. The thing is with jump training is you have to stick with it longer than anyone else. This is where most people fail. The amount of work that you do in a single day doesn't even have to be that high, but real progress is made when you stack together hundreds of weeks of training hard. It can be a small amount of work, but over the span of years it adds up. Most people aren't willing to wait that long. This is where it comes into sort of that sprint stuff. You could literally do maybe 5 sprints a week. It's not very much at all. I mean, how long is that? Let's say you did 5 40-yard dashes in a week. Let's say average person maybe runs 5 seconds. 5 of those a week, that's 25 seconds. Okay, a sprint a sprint session probably takes maybe 40 minutes. 40 minutes a week, that's nothing. Someone do the maths, but that's a tiny fraction of your week. But if you did that for weeks on end, you would get fast. But you've got to be willing to play the long game and actually be willing to wait and commit to that process. The problem is, in the beginning, you're going to suck. You're going to be unmotivated and you're going to have setbacks. But if you stick with it long enough, something really cool is going to happen. You're going to get good. And when you get good, it gets fun. And when it gets fun, you don't stop. And when you don't stop, you keep getting better. And before you know it, people will be asking you for the secret sauce, and you're just going to chuckle to yourself. It really is a game of consistency. By the way, we've still got 2 massive tips to come. But before we end the video, make sure to check out the training programs in the description. As I said before, we literally have a $10 program with so much value. I can guarantee that if you do any one of these programs, you're going to jump higher. So check them out down below. Next, technique. You must optimize your technique. Technique is a very low-hanging fruit. You can check out my 1 foot jump technique video. You need to start close and then go further out. You need to do lots of jumps. That's the best way of getting better technique. If you do lots of jumps, your body's going to find the best way of jumping high. I learned this by doing those 3 months of jumping every single day. That helped me tremendously. But some little tips I could give you is, for 2 foot, have a really long penultimate step. That's going to help you to jump high. For 1 foot, you want to focus on that rolling contact before you go into the jump. So that lowers you so you can jump higher. And generally, you just want to have rhythm. Oftentimes, sprinting in and trying to jump as high as you can is not as good as having rhythm and trying to jump as high as you can. So, do that. Now, staying healthy is probably one of the most important things when it comes to training. If you're injured, you can't get better. And there's a fairly high probability with explosive training that you will get injured at some point. Likelihood is this is going to be knee pain. How are you going to combat this though? Load management. This is how you're going to prevent getting injured. So this means that you take rest days so that you can recover. You sleep well. You have good nutrition. Things like eating adequate protein, replenishing your carbohydrate stores, drinking enough water, having your electrolytes, all this kind of thing. Isometrics, they're going to prevent you from getting knee pain or help your knee pain. This is where you do 5 sets of 45-second holds. Call it maybe a wall sit, and you'll do that. 5 sets of 45 seconds will strengthen your tendon and make your knee pain better. Then you can also do slow squats. This is where you will load up the bar with 70% of your max squat. You do this if your knees are feeling a bit sore after like a jump session or after playing basketball or whatever. You do this, load 70% on the bar, really slow on the way down, pause, really slow on the way up. Not like a regular squat where you go slow on the way down and then fast on the way up. You go slow everywhere. And you're going to do 4 to 10 reps, and that's going to help your knees to feel really good. Alright bro, cheers for watching. See you in the next one. By the way, if you seriously want to jump higher and sprint faster, you seriously should buy the VIP coaching. Because you seriously will get better, you seriously will dunk, you seriously will get fast. And even if you're low on that bread, buy the $10 speed program. Come on. Come on now, you're going to get faster for $10. Is that a joke? That's mental. I actually can't believe I'm making it this cheap. It shouldn't be this cheap. I might raise the price, you know. Dunno. Hey, don't be late.